Ryan stood on the shining platform of the Vorith Council Hall, trying very hard not to sweat. The air was thick with the scent of metal and strange flowers that glowed blue in the corners of the chamber. Around him, tall armored figures stood in rows, their silver eyes fixed on the human delegation. The Terral warriors looked both noble and terrifying, their armor etched with symbols that seemed to shimmer with life. Ryan was not a soldier or a great diplomat. He was just a communications officer who spoke 10 alien languages and had been sent along because he understood basic Terral phrases. He had imagined his job would be simple: translate a few greetings, take notes, and stay quiet. But somehow he found himself standing at the front beside the lead ambassador, while hundreds of alien eyes watched. The head of the Terral Council, a massive figure with armor that looked like living stone, stepped forward. His voice echoed across the hall. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We greet you in honor and strength. May this meeting bring unity between our worlds." Ryan swallowed. The ambassador beside him gave a small nod, signaling that Ryan should return the greeting in their language. His hands shook slightly, but he managed to say the words clearly. The Terral language was deep and rhythmic, every word like a drumbeat. "Earth stands in peace and respect," Ryan said, doing his best to copy the Terral gestures he had studied. He raised his right hand, palm out, and touched his chest with his left, just as he had seen in a cultural guidebook. The room went silent. For one long second, Ryan thought he had done something wrong with his pronunciation. He looked around, confused. Then he noticed every Terral in the room staring directly at him. A few of them murmured to each other. The council leader's eyes widened. And then, before Ryan could understand what was happening, a tall figure stepped out from the warrior ranks. She was taller than him by almost a head, wearing dark blue armor that gleamed like polished stone. Her eyes were sharp, her expression unreadable. The other warriors stepped aside as she walked forward. When she reached Ryan, she placed her closed fist over her heart and bowed her head slightly. Ryan blinked. The ambassador behind him whispered, "What's happening?" Ryan didn't know. He forced a nervous smile. "Maybe she's saying hello?" The Terral commander turned to the council leader and spoke firmly in her language. The leader's deep voice boomed in reply, filled with something that sounded like approval, and then the crowd erupted into cheers. Ryan froze. The ambassador looked horrified. One of the aides whispered urgently, "You just proposed to her." Ryan's brain stopped working for a moment. "I what?" "That gesture you made," the aide said in a panic. Right hand forward, left hand to the chest. "It's not a greeting. It's the Terral proposal gesture. You asked for her hand in a warrior's bond." Ryan felt the air leave his lungs. "You're telling me I just proposed marriage to an alien commander?" The aide nodded miserably. "Yes, and she accepted." The cheering grew louder. The Terral commander turned to face Ryan again. She spoke in clear, accented English, her voice strong and steady. "I am Commander Circa of the Third Blade," she said. "Your courage honors me." "I accept your bond," Ryan stammered. "Wait, no, there's been a misunderstanding." But it was too late. The council leader raised his hands for silence. "Let it be known," he announced, "that a human has proposed to our finest warrior and been accepted. May this be the first true bond between our species." Ryan wanted the ground to open and swallow him whole. The Terral crowd began chanting something that sounded like a victory song. Circa stood beside him proudly as if she had just won a great honor. The ambassador leaned toward Ryan and whispered under his breath, "We cannot offend them now. Just smile. We will fix this later." Ryan tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. When the ceremony ended, Circa guided him through the hall. Her armor clinked softly as she walked. The other Terral warriors saluted her as they passed, their faces filled with admiration. Ryan noticed how every one of them looked at him with new respect, or perhaps amusement. He wasn't sure which was worse. In the guest quarters prepared for the human team, Ryan finally collapsed into a chair. The ambassador paced in front of him. "This is a disaster," the ambassador said. "If we tell them it was an accident, they might think we are insulting their customs. The Terral value honor above all else. Breaking a bond proposal could be seen as a deep offense." Ryan rubbed his face. "So what do we do? I can't actually marry her. For now, you'll have to pretend, just until we can find a diplomatic way out." Ryan sighed deeply. "Great. I'm engaged to an alien warrior I just met." Before he could complain further, the door opened. Commander Circa entered, standing tall and confident. She was no longer wearing her helmet, and Ryan was surprised to see she had a calm, serious face that didn't match her intimidating armor. Her eyes were a strange silver color that reflected the room's light. "I came to see my bondmate," she said simply. Ryan almost choked. "Bondmate?" "Yes," she said, tilting her head. "Is that not the human word for chosen partner?" The ambassador gave him a helpless look. Ryan forced another awkward smile. "Right, yes, bondmate, that's me." Circa studied him closely as if trying to understand his every movement. "You are smaller than I expected, but your gesture was strong and clear. Few warriors would make such a bold claim before the council?" "Yeah," Ryan said weakly. "Bold, that's me," she nodded in approval. "We shall begin our bonding tradition soon. You will share your story with me and I will share mine. Then we will train together so our spirits may align." "Train? As in fight?" Circa gave a faint smile. "Yes, all Tyrell mates must test their strength together. But fear not, human. I will go easy on you." Rian wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. After she left, the ambassador sighed. "You'd better start learning their customs fast. Until this is sorted, you're representing all of humanity." Ryan leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. He couldn't believe how quickly his life had changed. Yesterday, he was worrying about translation errors. Today, he was accidentally engaged to a warrior from another world. He could still hear the Terrell crowd's cheers echoing in his ears. Somewhere deep inside, between the panic and confusion, he felt a small flicker of curiosity. Commander Circa had looked at him not with mockery but with a kind of respect. Maybe she saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. Still, one thought stayed clear in his mind. He had a lot of explaining to do, and the hardest part was just beginning. The next morning, Ryan woke up to the sound of heavy footsteps outside his quarters. He blinked sleepily and glanced at the door just as it slid open with a hiss. Standing there, tall and proud as always, was Commander Circa. "Rise, bondmate," she said in her calm but firm voice. "It is time for our morning trial." Ryan sat up, confused. "Morning trial?" "Yes," she replied. "It is tradition for new pairs to face a test of skill. It shows how well their spirits align." Ryan rubbed his eyes. "I think my spirit is still asleep." Circa frowned slightly, not understanding his humor, and handed him a folded gray suit. "Wear this. It will protect you in the training hall." Ryan looked down at the thick material and sighed. He had barely managed to survive one day without embarrassing himself again, and now he was being dragged into warrior training. He slipped on the suit anyway. It fit awkwardly, a bit too tight around the shoulders. When they reached the Tyrell training grounds, Ryan's jaw nearly dropped. The room was massive, built of metal and light with circular platforms floating at different heights. Warriors leapt between them with ease, practicing hand-to-hand combat that looked more like dance than battle. Sparks flew as metal blades clashed. Circa led him to one of the lower platforms. "We begin here," she said. Rian raised his hands nervously. "You're not really going to fight me, are you?" She gave a small smile. "Not fight, train. You must learn the movement of defense. Every bondmate of a warrior must know how to protect themselves." The word bondmate still made him blush, but he tried to focus. Circa moved into a ready stance, her posture balanced and graceful. She beckoned him forward. "Strike at me," she said. Ryan hesitated. "I don't think that's a good idea. You cannot learn by standing still." Ryan sighed and made a clumsy attempt to swing his arm forward. Circa moved faster than he could blink, lightly tapping his wrist and sending his balance off. He stumbled and almost fell off the platform. She caught his arm before he fell. "You are light on your feet," she said approvingly. "That is good." "Who's that?" Ryan wasn't sure if she was being serious or teasing him, but he nodded and tried again. After several attempts, he managed to block one of her slow strikes. His heart raced with small pride. Circa noticed and gave him a nod. "You learn quickly," she said. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as they appear." "Thanks, I think," Ryan said, breathing heavily. The session went on longer than he expected. Every time he made a mistake, Circa corrected him patiently. She never raised her voice, but there was strength in everything she did. Ryan began to realize that beneath her armor and serious face, Circa had a calm focus that made others respect her naturally. When the training finally ended, Ryan's arms ached and his legs felt like they were made of rubber. Circa handed him a flask of blue liquid. "Drink. It will help your body recover." Ryan hesitated, but then took a sip. It tasted sweet, like mint mixed with metal. Surprisingly, it did make him feel better. As they walked back through the training hall, other Terrell warriors saluted Circa, then gave Ryan curious glances. He could hear their whispers. Some sounded amused, others impressed. One even said, "The human moves with courage." Ryan couldn't tell if they were serious or just being polite, but Circa seemed proud. "They see your effort," she said. "That honors me as your partner." Ryan smiled weakly. "Glad to help." Later that day, during a short break, Circa invited him to join her for a meal in the council dining area. The tables were long, made of black stone and filled with both human and Terrell food. He stared at a glowing green dish on his plate. "What is this?" he asked. "Zell root," Circa replied. "It strengthens the spirit." Ryan poked it with his fork. "Does it taste good?" She looked puzzled. "It is food. It gives strength." "That is what matters," Ryan laughed softly. "You sound like my old gym teacher." Circa raised an eyebrow. "Is he a warrior?" "Something like that," Ryan said with a grin. She studied him for a moment. "You laugh often." "It is strange but not unpleasant. It's how humans handle stress," he said. "If I didn't laugh, I'd probably run away screaming." Her eyes softened slightly. "Then I'm glad you laugh." As they ate, Ryan noticed how she moved with discipline, always aware of her surroundings. Other warriors approached her, offering greetings and small bows. Every one of them looked at Ryan with curiosity. He was clearly a mystery among them. After the meal, the human ambassador called Ryan aside. "You seem to be doing well," the ambassador said in a low voice. "Keep it up. The council believes your engagement is a sign of deep trust between our species. We might actually reach a trade agreement because of this." Ryan stared. "You mean this whole mess is helping diplomacy?" "Yes," the ambassador said. "So try not to ruin it. And whatever you do, don't offend her." Ryan sighed. "No pressure at all." That evening, Circa showed him the Terrell city lights from a high balcony. The skyline stretched endlessly, filled with glowing towers and airships moving like slow stars. Below them, the streets shimmered with energy lines that pulsed with color. "It's beautiful," Ryan said quietly. Circa nodded. "It is the heart of our people. Every light represents strength, unity, and purpose. We build to honor our ancestors." Ryan leaned against the railing. "On Earth, people build cities mostly for comfort. Or competition. Sometimes just for show." Circa turned to him. "Your kind may be smaller in body, but you reach far. You build across stars. That is not weakness," Ryan smiled. "Thank you, Commander." She looked at him with a hint of amusement. "You may call me Circa when we are not in council. You are my bondmate. Formal titles are not needed." Ryan nodded slowly. "All right, Circa." The word felt strange on his tongue, but warm somehow. For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the city glow. Ryan could feel the strange bond forming between them, though he didn't fully understand it. He had meant to end this confusion as soon as possible, but something about her steady presence made him hesitate. When they returned inside, Circa spoke again. "Tomorrow we meet with the council. They will want to hear from you directly. They will ask about human values. You must speak with honesty. They will respect that." Ryan frowned. "I don't know if I can represent all of humanity." "You already do," Circa said calmly. "You faced the council with courage. You trained without fear. That is what they will remember." Her words stayed with him long after she left. That night, Ryan lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about how strange life could be. 2 days ago, he was just another translator. Now he was a symbol of peace between two worlds. He had accidentally made a powerful friend, or something more. He wasn't sure how long this act would last, but a small part of him no longer wanted it to end quickly. There was something about Circa's strength and quiet honor that fascinated him. The next morning, he would face the council again. But this time, he wouldn't feel like a lost visitor. He would walk beside Commander Circa of the Third Blade, the warrior who had accepted his accidental proposal, and somehow made him feel like he truly belonged among the stars. Ryan stood before the great Terrell Council again, his palms sweating inside the ceremonial gloves Circa had given him. The vast hall shimmered with golden light as hundreds of alien eyes watched in silence. The previous day, he had been terrified just to stand there. Now, although his heart still raced, he felt a little steadier. Commander Circa stood beside him, her presence calm and strong. She had spent the night teaching him how to bow properly, how to speak their greeting words, and most importantly, how to show respect without fear. When the council leader spoke, his deep voice echoed through the chamber. Human envoy Ryan, yesterday we saw courage in your actions. Today, we wish to learn about your people. Tell us what it means to be of Earth. Ryan took a slow breath. Every word mattered. He remembered Circa's advice. Speak honestly. On Earth, Ryan began, we are not the strongest or the fastest. But we learn, we build, and we help one another when things are difficult. We have many differences, but we still try to find peace. That is what makes us human. A murmur spread through the council. Some nodded, others whispered. The leader leaned forward slightly. You speak of peace and unity, yet your world has known war. Ryan nodded. Yes, it has. We make mistakes, but we also try to fix them. We keep moving forward. Maybe that's what makes us brave. Not that we never fall, but that we get up again. For a long moment, the hall was silent. Then the leader spoke again. You speak with honesty. That is a strength of the spirit. The Tyrell value such strength. Circa glanced at Ryan, her expression unreadable, but her eyes held a faint warmth. He had passed the test. After the meeting, Circa guided him through the corridors of the council complex. The tall windows showed the endless sky of Vorith glowing orange under its twin suns. You spoke well, Circa said. Your words carried weight. The council respects you now. Ryan smiled, relieved. I'm glad I didn't mess it up. You did not, she said. You showed what humans stand for. Honor can take many forms. You showed the honor of truth. They walked together in silence for a while. Ryan noticed how every Tyrell they passed greeted Circa with respect. Some nodded to him too. The change was small but real. Later that day, Circa brought Ryan to a training field outside the city. The open plain was surrounded by tall stone towers that caught the light and shimmered like glass. In the center stood several Tyrell warriors, each practicing with a long metal staff. Circa handed Ryan a shorter version of the same weapon. Today you learn the way of movement, she said. Ryan held the staff awkwardly. I'll try not to hurt myself, Circa smiled faintly. You will not. I will teach you. She moved with precise grace, showing him how to hold the weapon, how to shift his balance, and how to keep his stance low. Ryan tried to copy her, but his feet kept slipping on the polished ground. He stumbled twice before getting it right. Circa watched patiently. Do not rush, she said. Strength is not speed, it is control. Ryan nodded, focusing harder. He began to understand the rhythm of the movement. The rise, the swing, the return. It was like dancing with purpose. As the sun dipped low, a group of younger Tyrell warriors approached, curious about the human practicing among them. One of them, a tall male with crimson armor, smirked. So this is the human who won our commander's favor, he said loudly. Circa turned to face him, her tone calm but firm. Corin, this is not the place. Corin crossed his arms. I mean no insult, Commander, but it is strange. A warrior of your rank deserves a partner of strength, not a fragile creature from a soft world, the other warriors murmured. Ryan felt his cheeks heat up. He opened his mouth to speak, but Circa raised a hand. You think strength only lives in muscle, she said. But strength takes many forms. Ryan has courage. He stands among strangers without fear. He learns without pride. He has already shown more honor than many warriors I know. Corin frowned but said nothing more. The others fell silent. Ryan looked at Circa, surprised by her words. After the group left, Ryan spoke quietly. You didn't have to defend me. Yes, I did, she said simply. You are my bondmate. Your honor is mine. And besides, what Corin said was foolish. Ryan laughed softly. You know, on Earth we'd call that loyalty. Circa nodded. Then I am loyal. They trained until the suns disappeared beyond the horizon. When the session ended, Circa helped Ryan sit beside a pool of glowing water near the training field. The air was cool and small creatures with wings of light floated above the surface. They are sky moths, Circa explained. They gather near calm mines. Ryan watched them dance above the water. They're beautiful. Circa looked at him for a moment before saying, You fight with your heart, not your hands. The Tyrell will learn much from your kind. And I'm learning a lot from you, Ryan said honestly. You make honor sound simple. It is not simple, she said softly. It takes patience and choice. Many think honor is about winning battles, but true honor is about keeping promises even when they are hard to keep. Her words made him pause. Like your duty to protect the council? She nodded. Yes, I was raised to serve my people. I became a warrior because I believed in peace through strength. But peace is not always found with blades. Ryan thought about that. Maybe peace is found when both sides try to understand each other. Circa looked at him again. Perhaps that is true. The next day, the council arranged a cultural exchange event. Humans and Terrell shared stories, art, and food. Ryan stood beside Circa as both groups mingled. He translated jokes, explained Earth customs, and even taught a few Terrell how to play a simple Earth game using small stones. Circa watched him with quiet amusement. "You bring laughter to the hall," she said. "That is a rare gift," Ryan shrugged. "Sometimes laughter helps people forget fear. It brings them closer." "Then you are a warrior of peace," she said. "Your weapon is your voice," he smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." When the event ended, Circa walked him back to his quarters. The hallway lights glowed softly, casting long shadows on the walls. "You did well today," she said. "Many of my people now see humans differently. You have shown them heart." "Thanks," Ryan said. "I guess I'm learning how to survive here." She tilted her head slightly. "Not survive, belong." Her words caught him off guard. For the first time, he realized she truly meant it. She saw him not as a mistake or a curiosity, but as a partner in something bigger. Before leaving, she placed a hand over her chest, the same gesture he had once made by accident. "May your strength rise with the suns, Ryan of Earth." Ryan watched her walk away down the long corridor. He felt something shift inside him, a sense of connection he couldn't explain. He was still the human who had made the biggest mistake of his life, but now that mistake was turning into something extraordinary. He had come to learn alien words. Instead, he was learning the meaning of honor, loyalty, and respect, things that crossed every boundary between stars. The day began with calm skies over Vorith. 2 suns rose slowly, painting the towers of the city in golden light. Ryan stood at the balcony of his guest quarters, watching the glow spread over the alien world. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful, and he did not yet know that by nightfall that peace would be tested. Commander Circa arrived early, dressed in her dark blue armor. She carried her helmet under one arm. "Today the council hosts the Trial of Unity," she said. "It is a ceremony to honor the bond between our peoples. You and I must stand together before the council." Ryan nodded, a little nervous but ready. "I'll do my best," Circa gave a small smile. "You always do." The trial was held in the Grand Chamber, a vast hall filled with both Terrell and human delegates. The walls shimmered with moving lights that represented the history of both species. Ryan and Circa stood side by side at the center platform facing the council. The leader raised his hands. "Today we celebrate the bond between the warrior Circa of the Third Blade and the envoy Ryan of Earth. Their unity has shown that strength and understanding can live together. Let this day mark the beginning of lasting peace." Applause echoed through the chamber. Ryan smiled awkwardly as Circa stood tall beside him. Everything seemed to be going perfectly until the lights flickered. At first, Ryan thought it was part of the ceremony. But then the lights dimmed completely, leaving the room in near darkness. A low alarm began to hum through the walls. The council leader's voice boomed, "What is happening?" Before anyone could answer, an explosion shook the outer gates. Guards rushed into position. Ryan's heart pounded as he saw smoke rising through the far end of the hall. Circa immediately placed herself between Ryan and the danger. "Stay behind me," she ordered. Figures emerged from the shadows wearing black armor without the Terrell crest. They carried strange energy weapons. Circa's voice was calm but firm. "Rogue faction. They want to end the peace talks." Blaster fire cracked through the air. The human and Terrell guards moved to defend the council. Circa drew her blade, a glowing weapon of blue energy. Ryan ducked behind a marble pillar as sparks flew. "Circa, what do we do?" he shouted. She blocked a strike and replied, "We hold the chamber until reinforcements arrive." Ryan looked around. The exit doors were sealed. Smoke filled the air and the sound of fighting grew louder. Circa moved like a storm, blocking attacks and striking with precision. Even surrounded, she showed no fear. But one of the attackers fired at her side and the shot hit. Circa stumbled, dropping to one knee. Ryan felt panic rise in his chest. Without thinking, he ran toward her, pulling her behind cover. "Circa, are you all right?" She winced but nodded. "Minor wound. Keep your head down." Ryan pressed his hand against the control pad beside the door, trying to remember what she had taught him about Terrell systems. The screen displayed glowing symbols. He had studied their language, but only a little. Still, he began pressing the keys, hoping to find a way to seal the inner gate. Circa looked at him in surprise. You can read that? Not perfectly, Ryan said, focusing. But I think this one means lock. He pressed it and the heavy door sealed shut just as another explosion hit the outer wall. The blast shook the chamber, but the seal held. Circa smiled weakly. You learn fast. Human instinct, Ryan said. We adapt when we have to. He glanced toward the other side of the room where several council members were trapped. We need to get them to safety. Circa tried to stand, but her leg gave out. Ryan helped her lean against the wall. You stay here. I'll draw their attention. She grabbed his arm. That is not your duty. Maybe not, he said, meeting her eyes. But it's the right thing to do. Before she could argue, Ryan picked up one of the fallen weapons and sprinted across the room. He wasn't a fighter, but he remembered what Circa had taught him. Stay low, move fast, and never hesitate. He used the pillars for cover, firing short bursts to distract the attackers. The noise drew their focus away from the council. The leader called out, "Human, this is too dangerous." Ryan shouted back, "I'll be fine." Just get everyone ready to move. Circa watched, her eyes filled with both worry and pride. Despite his lack of training, Ryan's quick thinking turned the tide. The guards used the moment to surround the attackers and force them back. Within minutes, the remaining rebels retreated through a damaged wall, disappearing into the smoke. The alarms faded. The chamber fell silent except for the crackle of fires being put out. Ryan lowered the weapon and rushed back to Circa. She was still leaning against the wall, breathing heavily but smiling faintly. You acted with courage, she said softly. The council owes you their lives. Ryan shook his head. We did this together. The council leader approached, flanked by guards. You have proven that this alliance is more than ceremony. Your courage, human, has shown the true meaning of unity. Ryan looked around at the damage. We were lucky. Not luck, the leader said. Trust. Medics arrived to treat Circa's wound. As they worked, she kept her gaze on Ryan. When they finished, she stood slowly, testing her injured leg. You risked yourself for me, she said quietly once they were alone. You've been risking yourself for me since the day we met, he said. It was time I returned the favor. Circa gave a small smile. I see now why your people reach the stars. You may not have the strength of a Tyrell, but you have something deeper. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Stubbornness. She laughed softly. Spirit. That evening, after the chamber was secured, the council gathered again. They declared that the attack had failed, and that peace between Earth and Vorith would continue stronger than before. The incident had united the two sides more than any words could have. Ryan and Circa stood together once more. Her armor was repaired, but a small burn mark remained, a reminder of what they had faced. When the ceremony ended, they walked outside into the cool night air. The twin moons shone above, casting silver light across the city. You know, Ryan said, for a peaceful ceremony that was intense. Circa nodded. Every victory has a test. Today we passed ours, Ryan smiled. You were amazing out there. So were you, she replied. When I saw you run toward danger, I understood something about your kind. Humans fight not because they love battle, but because they protect what they care about. Ryan looked at her and said, And what about Tyrell warriors? She paused. We fight because it is our duty. But today I fought for something more. Their eyes met. Neither spoke for a long moment. The silence was comfortable, filled with respect and unspoken understanding. As they walked back to the council building, Ryan thought about how far he had come since the day he had accidentally proposed. He had gone from being a confused visitor to standing beside one of the most respected warriors of another world. And for the first time, he truly felt he belonged not just as a guest of Vorith, but as a part of its story. A week had passed since the attack on the council chamber. The Tyrell city was calm again, though guards now patrolled every gate and tower. The peace talks between Earth and Vorith had resumed, stronger than before. Both sides now trusted each other more, their shared danger having brought them closer. Ryan had become something of a local hero. Wherever he went, Tyrell citizens greeted him with respect. Children waved from the walkways. Merchants offered him free food. Some even called him the brave bondmate of Commander Circa. The title made him blush every time he heard it. But for Ryan, the greatest change was in the way he felt about Circa. What had started as a mistake had grown into a partnership built on trust and friendship. He admired her strength, her discipline, and her deep sense of honor, and though he would never admit it out loud, he also enjoyed the way she teased him sometimes with her quiet smiles and calm confidence. That morning, Circa found him studying the stars from the balcony of the council tower. She walked up beside him, her armor polished and her long braid resting on her shoulder. "You are up early again," she said. Rian smiled. "I was just watching the sky. I keep trying to find Earth out there, but there are too many stars." Circa looked at the horizon. "You miss your world?" "Sometimes," he said. "But being here has changed how I see things. I used to think humans were small compared to the rest of the galaxy. Now I see that every world, no matter how different, can find something in common." Circa nodded. "The council says the trade agreement will be signed today. You and I will stand together once more." "I heard," Ryan said. "I'm glad this peace worked out. I guess our strange engagement helped after all." Her silver eyes glimmered with amusement. "Helped, yes, but I do not think it was strange. It was fate." Rian laughed softly. "Fate or not, I still remember how terrified I was that day. I thought I had ruined everything." Circa turned to him. "You did not ruin anything. You began something neither of us expected." Later that afternoon, the grand ceremony of unity began. Representatives from both Earth and Vorith filled the hall. The banners of both worlds hung side by side, and the air was filled with music from both species. Ryan stood beside Circa at the front of the chamber as the council leader stepped forward. "Today," the leader announced, "we seal the first true alliance between the Terral and the humans of Earth. Let this bond bring wisdom and peace to both our peoples." Rian and Circa placed their hands over a glowing crystal that symbolized unity. The light pulsed brighter until the entire chamber glowed with warm gold. Applause rose from every side. When the ceremony ended, the council members approached Ryan with smiles. "You have done well, Envoy," one said. "Your courage has reminded us that strength is not only in the body but in the heart." Ryan thanked them politely, but his eyes kept finding Circa across the room. She was surrounded by her fellow warriors who congratulated her proudly. Yet when her gaze met his, she smiled in that quiet, knowing way that made his heart skip a beat. Later, during the celebration feast, the atmosphere was light. Music filled the air and people laughed and shared stories. Ryan sat beside Circa at a long table filled with dishes from both worlds. He had grown used to Terral food, even the glowing ones that had once scared him. One of the younger warriors leaned toward Ryan and said, "Commander Circa has refused every proposal for years, yet she accepted yours in one moment. How did you win her favor?" Ryan nearly choked on his drink. "It was an accident," the warrior laughed. "Then it was the best accident in Terral history." Circa's eyes sparkled with amusement as she said, "Perhaps accidents can lead to truth." Ryan shook his head with a smile. "You'll never let me live that down, will you?" "Never," she said calmly. After the feast, the music slowed and many guests left the hall. Rian and Circa walked together through the quiet gardens outside. The path was lined with glowing stones, and the night breeze carried a soft hum from the city below. "You will return to Earth soon," Circa said after a while. Her tone was calm, but her eyes held a hint of sadness. "Yes," Rian said softly. "The ambassador wants me back for a full report. They'll probably want to keep me in training for future missions." Circa nodded slowly. "You have done your duty well. The Alliance stands strong." Ryan looked down at the path. "I'm glad. I just didn't expect it to be this hard to leave." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "You could stay. The council would welcome you as an honorary citizen of Vorith. You have earned that right." Ryan hesitated. "It's tempting. But Earth still needs people who can build bridges like this. If I can help our worlds understand each other, that's where I belong." Circa studied him for a long moment, then said quietly, "You speak like a true warrior of peace." They stood together beneath the silver trees. The light from the moons painted her armor in soft white, and Ryan thought she had never looked more striking. "I will miss our training," Circa said, breaking the silence. Rian grinned. "You mean you'll miss throwing me across the floor every morning?" She gave a small laugh. "Perhaps a little." Ryan took a deep breath. "Circa, before I leave, there's something I want to say. When I made that gesture on the first day, it was by mistake. But if I could go back, knowing what I know now, I think I'd still make it. Only this time I'd mean it. Circa's eyes softened. You would propose again? He nodded. Yes, maybe not in the same way, but I'd still want to know you. For a moment she said nothing. Then she placed her hand over her chest, the Terrell gesture of respect and bond. Then let it be known that the bond between us was no accident. Ryan smiled. So what happens now? She stepped closer. Now you return to your world and I remain to guard mine. But this bond will not fade. When you look to the stars, you will know that somewhere out there, a Terrell warrior stands beside you in spirit. Ryan nodded slowly. And when you look at the stars, you'll know that a human somewhere is probably tripping over himself trying to be brave. Circa laughed softly. I will remember that. When dawn came, the human shuttle waited on the landing field. The council, the ambassadors, and a crowd of Terrell citizens gathered to see the humans off. Ryan stood at the ramp, his small travel bag slung over his shoulder. Circa stood a few steps away, her armor shining in the morning light. The council leader spoke first. Human of Earth, you leave with our respect. You have shown us courage and compassion. May your journey bring more unity to the stars. Ryan bowed. Thank you. I will never forget this world. Before boarding, he turned to Circa one last time. Take care of Vorith for me, she nodded. And you, take care of Earth. For a moment, they simply stood there, two beings from different worlds bound by an unlikely friendship. Then Ryan stepped onto the shuttle. As the engines roared to life, he looked through the window and saw Circa standing tall, her hand over her heart. The shuttle rose into the bright sky. Ryan watched until the city became a distant glow. He smiled to himself. He had come to Vorith as a translator, made a mistake that could have started a war, and somehow ended up helping to build peace instead. In the quiet hum of the ship, he opened his communicator and recorded a final message for Earth Command. This is Envoy Ryan, reporting successful alliance with the Terral. Diplomatic mission complete. And well, I may have accidentally found a new friend among the stars, maybe more than a friend. He closed the communicator and leaned back in his seat, still smiling. Far below, on the shining planet of Vorith, Commander Circa of the Third Blade watched the sky until the human ship disappeared from view. Then she turned toward the city, whispering softly to herself, Until we meet again, Ryan of Earth.